Keep working. Oh, that's great. I'm glad to know. As Nick said, my name is Elkid Alvarez Maldonado, and I am the Community Engagement Specialist at the Kenosha Public Library. And I'm really excited to be working with Nick and all these amazing artists for this Bonk. I've loved Bonk for a very long time, so it's really cool that we keep doing it, even though we're all doing it from our homes now. And so we're going to start off with our list of thank yous real quick. First of all, I'd like to thank the Kenosha Public Library for allowing us to host this in conjunction with the Racine Public Library, the Friends of the Racine Public Library, the Osborne and Seckick Family Foundation, and the Racine Community Foundation, as well as Old Madrid Restaurant. Yeah, and as Nick said, we're celebrating kind of like the tail end of Hispanic Heritage Month. And as with a lot of these special months that we like to highlight, this should actually be the beginning. I know we just celebrated 30 days of it, but if ever you're looking for a way to find out about more Hispanic or Latinx artists, our own backyard. So this is our opportunity to highlight those amazing people. We're really looking forward to it.
So before we go on, I'll do some, we did the institutional thank yous. I'll do some individual thank yous. Then I'll just say who our performers for the night are, and then Elkid will be introducing them. But so for individual thank yous, just want to thank, there's a lot of individuals who helped make Bonk go. And Bonk has been going for, I didn't even mention this. This is Bonk's 12-year anniversary, this event. And I'm especially excited to get to have the poets and musicians that we have with us for that, because Marco first performed with Bonk when he was like embryo sized. He was a little baby years and years ago. It must have been at least 9 years ago, I think. And Brenda performed for Bonk the first year that Bonk was ever going, probably the first 6 months that Bonk was going. So it's really a family reunion to get to have them back. Esteban is, he's more recent, but we've had him over the years too. So for the individuals that have been making and helping Bonk go for this long for 12 years now, include, I want to thank our graphic designer, Amanda Gastra, who makes the beautiful posters, if you saw those. I want to thank our digital marketing manager, Alex Riley, who lets people know, basically, that we're doing events when we're doing events. I want to thank our two photographers, Celia Schultz and Elmer Galone. And I want to thank Kelsey Marie Harris. I want to mention up front, Kelsey Marie Harris helps us with curation and social media and some other things. She's also an amazing poet who just put out a book of her own. And we are having this event a half hour earlier than usual because Woodland Pattern Book Center is hosting a virtual event at 7 p.m. where Kelsey will be reading along with Ross Gay and another poet that I'm unfamiliar with. So we'll try to put that information out where this is streaming so people can join that at 7 if they want also. So those are our individual thanks. Thank you to all those people for keeping Bonk alive and helping it thrive. And for the performers that we're bringing on today, we have Poet Laureate Emeritus of Kenosha, Esteban Colon. We have Poet Laureate Emeritus of Milwaukee, Brenda Cárdenas, and we have the Poet Laureate of my heart. He's really a musician, but Marco Jaimez Jr. But we wouldn't want to break the pattern, right? And so with that, I think we're going to get started. Elkid is going to introduce our acts from here. Thank you again, everyone, so much for joining us, and thank you to Kenosha Public Library and all our sponsoring organizations for making this happen today.
All right. I just want to double check. Esteban is going first, correct? Awesome. All right, let's start with Esteban Colon. Esteban Colon is the Poet Laureate Emeritus of Kenosha, Wisconsin. And he's been writing and performing poetry most of his life. Many of those poems appear in Hell Creek, Things I Learned the Hard Way, and Whispered Soliloquies. So Esteban, if you're ready, I'll let you take the stage.
Thank you. I'll take it away. I when you guys asked, when you invited me, I was really kind of stumped what to do for a biography, and I think I finally figured it out, but last night. So I'll start by reading that. This is called a proper biography. You'll find Esteban Colon on Google and Amazon, but not the bestsellers list. You'll remember if you've seen him live, but maybe not if you've met. Chatting in chairs, you're about to hear your life read out loud. Details changed to protect the guilty. And the first poem. I've begun naming elephants with names like Muslith or William or Rosa, not titles like Cornflakes or The Father Who Never Reached Out to Me or The Friend I Miss Terribly but Fear Reaching Out to, because every time we talk, we suddenly seem to have less and less in common. I've begun admitting more out loud, like how loneliness has curled up close enough to feel fonder than past lovers and is often even closer in crowds. Or how we pretend so hard that the ground is eggshells that reality begins to believe it and no one dares to step out of place. I've begun naming elephants, letting them know that we all see them, that they are not invisible, that they have never been invisible, just too loud for most mouths stuck chewing on how invisible they feel. I also, given that we're 2 days out of Hispanic Heritage Month, want to thank two people who weren't on the list because I had some thank yous. But just randomly, I want to thank Sandra Cisneros and Martin Espada, because without them, I wouldn't be here today. This is a poem called Sonia. 16 hours since she checked in. She pinches his ear between thumb and pointer finger, drags him away with thick legs, feet that refuse to slip on the ice, the graffiti of gray snow. Flickering eyelids let voice roar like a hot water heater as it prepares for death, sends him to the bedroom she can still control, keep gun free, glares through the door as he curses the disappearance of the weed that he thought was hidden well enough. Granite hand threatened the integrity of his cheekbone, removed the things of last Christmas as he loudly howled denials of the money missing from her purse that a stranger would surely have believed. Sold the things she braved hours of coal to find, bought with her slow bending spine, muscles that will never untense, spent the earnings on the doctors who saved her boy. 2 hours into her only day off, she traces the indentation of her boy on the couch, eats leftovers, remembering his hugs and kisses only 4 years prior, knows that he's at his friend's house, manages to never let him see her weep. Thank you. The importance of cooking oil. Oil in glass is fresh, not like the reused oil in plastic containers from my youth, held in pans till cool, my stubby fingers grabbing leftover odds and ends of meat still stuck to the bottom before pouring it in, watching the caramel wave leak over the top, threaten to never stop pouring. Left in the kitchen next to the stove, a constant reminder that everything can be fried, of our dominion over fire, our access to food of some sort at all times, warmth of knowing the difference between broke and poor. Oil and glass covered, waiting for use in an open dining room, inviting the world to see, stretching loving arms around living room, a house united, like the way families used to live. Glass on the table looking out, on manicured lawns reminds me that green is no thicker than red, brown skin always pulling out sandwich bags, plastic bags, Tupperware, too old to worry about returning, sending guests homes with edible snapshots of holidays, holy days, simple celebrations where no welcome was overstayed till the sun rose again, let water break till the next day's possibilities strove towards adolescence. I had oil and plastic, reciting waste not, want not, in empty space, framed by 3 couches, my blinds open enough to let lights in, didn't want third floor neighbors to watch me walk around naked, and it wasn't the same. My home was more a cave, a glorified bedroom that oil never rested in freezer bags. Old take-home containers sat solitary on the counter. You see, oil and glass marks matriarchy. Queens with kings despite the lack of need for one, reaching gentle hands upon each peasant who is one by one embraced like family. Thank you. This next piece is entitled June 11th. Thump clack, thump clack, thump clack, thump clack, thump clack, thump clack. Sky high, sun chased, brown curls down the alleyway, the street, the sidewalk. Laughter too loud to hear over at first. Thump clack, thump clack, thump clack, thump clack, thump. Brown eyes didn't need to close to imagine large robots fighting dragons. Pretend shirt collars proudly held red capes as sidewalks became clouds to fly through. Thump clack, thump clack, thump clack, thump clack, thump clack. Brown feet well calloused, fleeing a mother trying to sheathe rebellious toes, who lived for the warm squish of dirt, the wiggle of summer grass. Thump clack, thump clack, thump clack, thump clack, thump clack. Back inside, the brown of hardwood floors echoed the metallic clack. Real world suddenly stronger than the troll slain by Styx, who resurrected Excalibur before breaking, turning curious eyes downward, plucking the long staple teeth deep in the heel of dead skin like saber-toothed fangs sunk into a mastodon's flesh. A layer of protection holding the real world back till it found its own time. June 11th. I am a recent transplant to Wisconsin, and by recent I mean last 7 years or so. I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago, and here's a very short poem about that called South Suburbs. A block away, .38 calibers of bullet tore through an 8-year-old's chest. Body seizing in the air, exploding chest, the sudden pop of a balloon, staining grass behind her where an overturned bicycle joins with homes, still begging to keep their illusions of suburbia. Related material, innocent sheds. I remember laughing at his older brother, the car he polished with 24 carats, the humbled look on his face after the neighborhood seasoned it, Swiss cheesed with bullet holes. I remember not having the imagination to picture assailants with better aim. The small suits we were stuffed into a year later, the funerals slightly less numerous than barbecues. Thank you. Appreciate it. Different memories. This is Michigan Part 1. Needles erupt, green from trees, bark calling down a dipping earth by low hanging branches framing rainbow leaves. Raining light upon a soft carpet of grass waiting to tickle cheeks, watch diving worms, drink deeply the water rolling into the pond below, before galloping feet move, dirt, mud running into imagination, where plastic and dead sticks become the instruments of war. Bodies too small for military garb, arguing over who shot who got the jump on who, brains filling clips, roaring the thunder of falling shells. Biographical. You asked me to write her biography, and I swallowed bowling balls. Felt your smile, a full-form fantasy of flipping through pages of past, the mythology of us, easy as the opening of a book cover. And before my lips moved, I fell forward in time and lived the life where I wrote it, chased down every story my grandmother shared, knowing that sand wears down sharp edges, crack in the hourglass only growing larger like time, refused to see the words. Chased friends and family like a gun shoe, picking pieces, piecing truths together till it eventually purchased tickets to Puerto Rico, to the home of everyone I love who still curses my stuttering tongue, the slow mouth who has never learned to move like my hips, where I'd finally tie the last threads before returning to the present. You asked me to write her biography without knowing that it would become my life, without knowing that there was only one way I knew how, and rather than wrap my life around her, I said no and slowly watched her light crumble into shadows. Thank you. Michigan Part 2. Needles find holes, closing pores like the ears of disagreeing sisters. Every tree dropping the salted rain of willows. As eyes resurrect the ammunition their children could only imagine screaming past crumpled leaves, their mother deep in winter, while words and touch become the thunder. And now something that isn't about my grandmother, so I don't start crying on you guys. This is called Before Dawn. Close your eyes. Feel the wind on arm hair, ears perked at the tips, the rattle of noisy wings crackling like electricity for smooth night unions, the darkness almost complete even when your eyes open. Gaze upwards. Let the same clouds who slinked away from the midday sun, inviting his anger to broil your fresh red, tap dance around primordial light. A million pinpricks reaching your eyes and your grandfather's eyes and his grandfather's eyes. Close your eyes again. Let the tall grass tug on your pants like a million needy children, too small to play with one by one. Walk off the deer path. Let the sounds of thorns trying to carve your legs remain sounds. Tall grass lay flat underfoot, the uneven ground demanding your Midwest feet shift bend to its will. Open your eyes in the night to the sound of howls, riding whipping winds, the chill that falls to bones, the way your skin slowly sinks underfoot reminds you you are a part, a portion of this night, this moment of fragile infinities. I also have an odd habit of personification. This is the secret life of memory. Memory breaks every scale he's ever stepped on. Is an amateur photographer. Opens days instead of doors, his car running up and down the calendar lanes. Memory keeps a dark room in the basement, refuses to go digital, has, more than once, accidentally turned on the light. Sometimes, after a spill, an imbalance of chemicals, he hangs up his photos anyway, much happier with how it ended up than the picture he took in the first place. Thanks. There's a whole story behind those, which I will happily share some other time. Superpowers. Number 1. Sweat-thick haze. I remember the feel of a bicep crushing my windpipe. Remember flexing every muscle and fight in vain. Eyes blinking 1 second long. Blinking 10 seconds long. Blinking 10 minutes long. And I learned I wasn't gifted with super strength. 2. Rattle of sheet metal signs impact the replacement for prescriptions I couldn't afford. Each crash, a moment of silence. Tidal wave turned off with a light switch. The echoing cacophony behind my eyes full of questions like daggers trying to carve their way out. Incendiary thoughts chilled with every impact of my skull. And I learned that I wasn't gifted with the power to control that fire. 3. Loose ice skate wrapped around my ankle, blade caught, sends my legs sideways. Ankle meeting hip like I was made out of clay or an action figure for the breaking. Doctors amazed bones didn't snap like twigs, even though it would have been better if they did. The most damaging in a procession of falls and slips, shoulders and toes, always finding the closest surface to bang against. And I became certain I wasn't gifted with superior grace. 4. I remember your slipping feet ready to move away. My call the next day to see how much I could get back on the ring. The couch who held my fetal form while I imagined futures leaked from my eyes, each as brilliant as they were mundane, now just more salted water cascading down red cheeks. And no matter how tightly I gripped the recent past, I wasn't gifted with superior strength. Almost broke fingers watching it wrenched free of me. And no matter how many walls I drove my head into, I wasn't gifted with the power to control the fire in my skull. Thoughts and emotions spun so hard, they are renamed a hurricane. And as your feet turned away, I tap danced my love, trying to spread wide peacock feathers till the brilliance became a sun. But I was never gifted with that sort of grace. So I let jagged fingers, a body battered by winds, the crashes of a failed dance march forward, a walking knuckle of wounds, as indestructible as I was hurt, as I was finally aware of the one gift that I do have. When I was young, the WWE was called the WWF. And if that's important for this next piece. Self-definition via WWF. I was always too short, too young, too brown to play the hero. Found the unclaimed, the odd, the so damn weird no one ever fought me over it. At 7 years old, I ran around the playground, loudly declaring, "I am the indestructible midget!" Imagine shaking ropes, a pint-sized ultimate warrior, till the years refused to swell my muscles. And I began to see myself more Cactus Jack. Less a monster than a man who simply refused to stay down. Would always stand with the strangest hole in the room. I found that these were the things that stuck. The Secret Life of Orange. Orange loves to drink with friends. Will happily buy the first round and a couple more, playfully teasing any non-drinkers till they share their drug of choice or suddenly decide to go home early. Orange loves roughhousing. Often reminisces on his frat days, loves telling stories before complaining on how they cracked down on hazing. Orange went to prison once for assaulting a prostitute after paying her $2,000, to be completely honest. He starts with where she hid the knife, follows up with the scar on his side, then a complaint about our justice system, the way that damn whore got off with self-defense. Orange always leaves out her eye swollen shut, the permanent imprint of his large, choking hands, the money, his request, the ocean that exploded from his eyes when she looked right through him. You and me both. Too many. One, she told me she had been assaulted, and I tried to make it my story. One of rage and revenge, blind enough to try extinguishing fire with fire. Two, she told me she had been assaulted, and I paused, stared desperate to understand as her story changed, still too blind to see clear. I couldn't identify her hazy image, fleeing the doubt in my eyes, in her mother's eyes, in her father's eyes, in her friend's eyes. I became Legion, one more member of a choir, yet another danger for her to overcome, to fight past in trying to be whole. Three, she told me she had been assaulted, and I wrapped fingers around her shoulders, let her know I was there for her. Ears armed for whatever words she needed to spill, my intentions tied tight, a healer with arms to hold her close, to hold our distance. Four, she told me she had been assaulted, and I wasn't a nurse or a knight. Let myself remain the friend she needed, however she needed, till alone at home I fell below waves, lungs emptying water through eyes, as the realization settled of how many strangers, acquaintances, how many of my friends and family, the sheer number of chances I was given to finally get it right. Thank you. The Secret Life of Melancholy. Melancholy has a home in the suburbs. Loves a pet dog almost larger than her. Melancholy once made you smile so hard your eyes cracked, leaking love like a river. Melancholy prefers to stay home, but will come out for the right company. Melancholy has holes in her liver, leaves puddles of truth whenever she's been drinking too much. Once, as a child, the rainbow offered her a chance to live any color she wished. Melancholy chose gray. Melancholy always chooses gray. Local dive. Copper hue bar stools tilt glasses till every leg is 100 proof. Strangers slowly nodding or swaying. He howls behind his guitar, a knuckle of the kind of pain that only spawns from bruises of loving fast fists, arms more eager to hurt than hug. The microphone sparks, cracks in hearts, valves shutting too slowly, his words, the sort of truths that stab directly into your side, that leave your chest pounding. On this side of the looking glass, Alice clocks her 36th hour today, flips a fresh burger for that hayseed who refuses to admit what he's running from, and faces wince from the fire rolling down their throats, solid shots of amnesia in the sonic ocean of a bar, with a groan of falling bodies, parts for the sounds of Jesus singing the blues on stage. And if you didn't know, next title of this poem, I Love America. I love America so much, I was born blue. Wanted to resemble the flag on my way out before I bothered learning how to breathe. I love America so much, I wrapped my life around the First Amendment, peaceably assembling every piece of my speech till words learned to ring like freedom. And I couldn't help but buy her the biggest ring I could fathom. But none of us live in a vacuum. I love America, but her friends and I have never clicked. Flags on pickup trucks too often demanding I go home to my own country, as if I only commute here on the weekend, as if every Latino jumped a border to arrive. I love America, but can't stand her father's list of things I'm not good enough for, rolling across the ground like a thrown roll of paper towels, each scratch embedded into the earth of America that I feel the need to plant flags, shoot fireworks every time I prove him wrong. I love America, but can't help feel like we should leave the room or start making out every time her Uncle Sam declares one of the many things I'm less than, watches me as if I'm about to steal something or stab someone, has his boys in blue make sure I know who owns the house. I love America. Have reddened every cheek I've turned, found too many of her friends eager to tell me how wrong I am about our family, how they've never spoken to, how they've never been spoken to that way. And I can't help but close the ring case in my pocket, keep it tight, till my lady love will at least stand with me as I stand for myself. And I'm going to close with two poems. They are related. This is with apologies to an enlightened generation. I apologize for the wave, the cascade, the tsunami of poetry, passionately telling you what you already know. But back in 2020, vision was undervalued. Every difference between you and another, no matter how minuscule, was basis for reclassification. Every step away considered a step down, a society depression trying to face the mirror by declaring strangers unworthy of doing so. Back in 2020, there were more names than were held in your history book, all beaten and held back and murdered. More names giving and fighting back, speaking and marching. Back in 2020, there were no assurances you would exist, would know what we screamed through ramming vehicles, pepper spray, tear gas, and bullets, while our protectors dined in luxury with obscene mobsters. So I apologize to your enlightened generation for the fury of bricks we laid, hoping to build your foundation. And this next one will be the last poem I'll be reading today. Thank you, Bonk. Thank you to the library. Thank you, everyone who's here today and everyone who's watching. I'm having a good time. I hope you are too. The name of this title is the same as the last line, so I'll skip that for right now, and you'll figure it out. Thick teeth smiles drop nigger like a punchline. Immediately assure me that my brown is too light a shade for the joke, a step in the right direction. 16, end of the workday, my car starts slow, echoing the churn of a brain, wondering exactly what jokes I am too dark for. 2. We rolled like molasses. Many United Nations cramped inside a car, safety rated for suicide. An old stick shift hobbling behind its walker. Teen mouths firing rounds in all directions, putting the sharpest tongue up on cheering shoulders. The world against us. We'd be damned if we didn't shoot first. 3. If we didn't shoot first, it seemed like we'd never get a shot. My too well-trained ears catching the familiar sound of my resume hitting the trash can. First name a hole in the bottom of the boat. No longer in the womb of my neighborhood, I became accustomed to the loud, slow introductions, bad stumbles into Mexican, the amazement surrounding the clarity of my English, the offense at my Spanish. 4. Rather than let go, I dug in, demanded things so obvious as to be absurd in other places, other states of mind. But here I was, screaming at strangers to let strangers live their own lives, to ask authorities to ask questions first. When I was 16, a friend joked about niggers and I froze, overloaded with memories of being followed in stores, harassed by police. We used to joke that being brown on a Saturday night was only a misdemeanor, but now it's gotten the death penalty, and keeping my nose clean while waiting for others to change has ceased to be an option. 5. An option. Treat everyone equally. Siblings who never understood sharing as what it is assumed that they would own all the toys, candy, or clothes without their siblings banded together and declared no one would force them to share it again. I'm here to let you know that your brothers and sisters would welcome you with open arms, hugs like equality, if we got to know what that felt like. But greed is a hell of a drug, and we hear you in your recliners, your hate marches, your boardrooms, your suburban kitchens, begging that you take our hands before we are finally forced to break yours. Those are my poems for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Esteban. I know I am familiar with your work because I have seen you perform at Bonk before, but I always love hearing how you relate human emotions and reactions to things that happen in nature. I always love that. I've got like puddles of truth I had to write down and oceans exploding from eyes. Those are beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you for sharing. Thanks a lot. We're going to continue with Brenda Cárdenas. And I know that we've met, but I don't think I've ever gotten to hear you read. So I'm really excited. I do have your bio here. So it does say books and chapbooks include Boomerang, Bread of the Earth, The Last Colors, Semillas de Achote, and From the Tongues of Brick and Stone. She's also co-edited Resist Much, Obey Little, Inaugural Poems to the Resistance, and Between the Heart and the Land, Latina Poems in the Midwest. Cárdenas' work has appeared or is forthcoming in Latino Poetics, The Art of Poetry, Grabbed, Take Back the Narrative, Hope is the Thing, Wisconsinites on Hope, and Resilience. Court Green, Ghost Fishing, an eco-justice anthology in poetry, and many others. She served as the Milwaukee Poet Laureate and currently teaches at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. So Brenda, thank you so much. I'm gonna let you take the stage.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for that nice introduction. And thank you so much to you and Nick and the library and Bonk for inviting me back after all those seasons. I do remember that first, that Bonk reading I did at the very beginning and how much fun that was. And it was so, I feel really blessed to be reading with Esteban. I loved your reading. I loved your poems. I love the personification stuff, really great, but they were all really moving. So thank you. So I'm going to begin with a little poem called El futuro está hecho a mano, which means the future is made by hand. And there's a couple other words I'll translate ahead of time. Tzintzuntzan is the Purépecha word that means the place of the hummingbirds. And colibrí means hummingbird. And te abraza con sus suspiros means it embraces you with its whispers. And presente, mi cielo, means I am here, my sky, or my love. El futuro está hecho a mano. Imagine handmade subversion, community embracing liminal existences. At Tzintzuntzan, colibrí acquiesces to air, su corazón flickering hints of hibiscus. Autumn grasps the wet hand of August, links arms with December's icy elbow, as spliffs smoke swallowtails into dreams where duende tiptoes up behind you, blows the fine hairs at the back of your neck. Te abraza con sus suspiros. Presente, mi cielo. Imagine handmade community, knitting, hinging, sewing, knotting, gluing us together. I'm going to continue here with a poem that, I mean, I don't, a lot of them don't really need an introduction, so I will introduce them when they need it. There's one word in here near the end, xocoatl, which is the Nahuatl word for chocolate. Cocoa Pie Road. I jot down directions my mother-in-law gives us to drive from the dark ocean road that harbors her beach house to the buzzed up blaze of highway. As my husband steers, I keep my eyes peeled and warn. She said to turn left on Cocoa Pie Road. He throws his head back and laughs. Concord Pike. My mother-in-law's accent is my grandfather's, permitting me to taste just a little bit of beer on a sweltering August day. I close my eyes and wish to wake at a painted rainbow with a big red arrow pointing down Cocoa Pie Road, where the ocean tastes like coconut cream and bakeries await us on every corner. Not only do they serve the sweetest pies, but they build sandwiches, just like my father pronounced them, on hard rolls with jamon, lettuce, y tomate. If you criticized my mother's cooking or wronged her in any way, you were an ass pipe, no wipe nearby to clean the caca off your nose. And although I kept so many of their lessons and words piled on the formica table of my inner kitchen with stacks of grandma's tortillas, I learned to make sandwiches they spit y vinegar, to swear bilingually, no me chingues, ass pipe, and took pride in my mispronunciation of Catholicism while I dodged Sunday school in parks and alleys. My mother prophesied that this would ruin my life because God encompasses everything. But little does she know that at the fork, I turned left down Cocoa Pie Road, and it smells like xocoatl, spiced with chile y vanilla, frothy drink of the gods. So just a little bit of family. And I'm going to try to share my screen now. I'm disabled from doing that. Host disabled, participant sharing. Okay, so I cannot share my screen, but I think I can show you this picture. You can see it somewhat. This is a photograph, a famous photograph by Graciela Iturbide, and it's called Nuestra Señora de las Iguanas. And I wrote this poem partly after that photograph. Nuestra Señora de las Iguanas, after Graciela Iturbide's 1979 photograph. My warm morning skin bristles in the jungle hut's frigid shower as shrill chirps trill off my inner ear's hi-hat. What tropical bird lurks outside this screenless window? I imagine lime green wings, a feathered turquoise face. But when its squeak rattles into a hiss that creeps behind me like a shadow, I turn to stare straight into the onyx eye of an iguana, iridescent crown gleaming down on my miserable wet head, tail coiling the shower pole, tongue reaching for my splashed shoulder. I slink back, leave dirt in the bends of elbows and knees, relinquish a chance to feel eyes licked into the back of my head. I am not La Nuestra Señora de las Iguanas, donning her Zapotec headdress of protruding limbs about to leap, folded faces, triple chins, not Iturbide's pebble squint, refusing to blink as it latches on to the queen of Juchitán, so far away, yet so near to where I stand, dripping on this poured concrete floor. So that experience took place in Chichen Itza, which is one of the homes of ruins of the Mayan people. And let's see, I think I might be able to share my screen now. Yeah. So hopefully you can see that that little the drawing, La Jodida. I've done some poems in response to these amazing drawings by an artist named Eric de Luna Genal, a Mexican artist. And these are from a series that is called 100 Nombres para la Muerte, or 100 Names for Death. So this is from 100 Nombres para la Muerte, Las Jodidas, the screwed ones. We are bent from the loads we've carried, strapped to our bony backs, sacks of maíz, hierbas, frijoles, bundles of firewood, jerry jugs of precious agua. Each Saturday, we haul tall stacks of caged birds to the mercado to sell their captive songs, their laments, our heaviest burden. Hobble a mile in our ragged huaraches, holes in their tire-tread soles. Follow us to the village of whispers, where the only gritos belong to the wind. Empty doorways grown over with weeds, our men's dusty boots waiting years for their return. Look into the cenotes of our eyes. You'll find no fish, no flores, no monedas, only sacrifices with their mouths full of mud and the dread of our itchy grins. Then tell us you would never risk wrapping your little lamb in a rebozo, grabbing your withered staff and heading north. Devil's son, scorpion, migra be damned. You'd fly for the birds whose latches you could not unlock. You'd fly so the only satchel your daughter hoists on her shoulders is heavy with libros, lápices, y sueños. You'd fly, never believing they would wrest her from your back and lock her in a cage. Okay, sorry about the pauses there, but it was the only way for me to switch the slides. This next poem is called Keys. I inherited a house recently from an aunt and uncle that I was very close to. They were second parents to me, and they both passed away in the same year in 2018. This is coming out of that experience, Keys. My uncle and aunt left me 2 hands full of keys, some to lost locks, some so worn they no longer turn in locks that block me. One might let me into his mother's tavern or childhood farmhouse in the old country. Another, the scorching desert winds her parents crossed to this land of maples and pines. A few keys kept safe her treasures, not worth a dime, ring with a blue glass stone, christening flowers once pinned to the white dress her brother wore 42 years before he burned beneath a Pontiac set aflame by the drunk who hit him in a perfect perpendicular. Secrets written in languages no one living here can speak. Skeleton key for the cedar closet opens to 2 generations of handmade dresses, skirts, suits, tight in their plastic sheaths. And at the very back, her tiny wedding dress, pearls tinted gray like her hair on the pillow the night I couldn't find the key to her breath. I remember the strands as silver streaks across a white sky, keys to a door none of the living can see. And this one, we're in the process of doing some remodeling and fixing up on that house. And this whole remodeling process is like, I just have to deal with way too many men. It's like, It's like testosterone overload every single day. So I can't wait until it's over. And this is called remodeling. Those are your toe kicks, the place where you slam the snow off of your big work boot. You may want to dance in the hallway to your window jamb, which is sticking. Don't worry about the ceiling crumbling down on your headache. We got you with our box cribs. Yeah, it's your crib, but it's our box while we're tearing through your walls. Remember, it's all about studs, the I-beam, and reinforcements, if you know what I mean. We will damp proof every inch of your basement. Don't worry, that's only a trickle of water. No need to be alarmed. Why would you think the monster clog in your stationary tub has anything to do with the drywall you think you see stuff down the drain? We would never do that. We know we got to get it right or you'll rubbleize us, hang us from the rafters. And then I'm going to do one more screen share if I can. Let's see. Oh, I guess not. Okay, that one, I think I forgot to put up there. So this is what it looks like. This is another one of the Eric de Luna Genal Muertos. And here is the poem. My youngest brother passed away of heart failure last year. And this is for him. From Cien Nombres para la Muerte, La Zapatona, the fleet-footed woman. Brother, your heart was a speed metal drummer in a breakaway, jamming for the finish. They had to trip it, stop it, start it, shock it till it threw you to your knees. And La Zapatona, sure-footed in her winged sneakers, tucked phalanges into fists and bolted, ponytails sailing in her wake, piano grin full of keys hammering sweeps. She shot you that mal de ojo, all black holes, and you still smell her sweat, her stale breath, feel its fire in your lungs. I cheated her 3 times, you say. Now she sprints inside my chest. Now she's neck in neck. And the next poem, for lack of a better title, is just called Beginning with a Line by Robin Riegler, another poet. My pain is a cloud that might be saying goodbye. It waves its plump little hand and sails into blue. I imagine a fist pump and a wink. How could I refuse to laugh at its mischievous smirk, like trying not to burst into chortles when your lover cracks a stupid joke in the middle of a fight? After the first year, I began to wake without memory of missing your last words because by the time I arrived, they had all flown north in search of a cool lake breeze rustling between pines, an eagle perched in the crown of the tallest tree on shore, knotty pine walls of the tiny room where we slept 3 to a bed, comforted by dim yellow light shining through cracks and sounds of our parents, grandparents, drinking beer and slapping cards down on the oilcloth just outside the drawn curtain we pretended was a door. My next poem is called Sweet 16, and I just want to give a shout out to an amazing anthology that just came out called Grabbed. And it's all different writers writing on sexual assault. And this poem is in that anthology, Sweet 16. Sweet 16 in patched Levi jeans and spaghetti strap tees, we walked a mile to meet the bad boys kicking back at the park. Newports nearly tumbling from their bottom lips as they flicked wheels to flint and waited for a spark. We strolled in with 6 packs of Pabst and sass, asking for a joint and a motorcycle ride, secretly wishing for a date to the carnival or concert or next beer bash, but we barely popped the tops of our cans, had any chance to joke or flirt or speak of summer plans before dusk deepened to dark. Before he pressed me against tree bark, tightened his vice of a body to mine, and grew 10 hands that grabbed everywhere, even the hair at the back of my head to stop my thrashing neck. By some dumb luck, he could not trap my 10-alarm screech, its siren rupturing his will. Still, I often wake straining and mute, knowing either he or the tree will swallow me if I cannot scream. And what of her? The one who breezed into the park with me that summer eve, all cherry lip gloss and glitter eyes, all cool facade melting on the inside, all sweet 16 with her firefly heart waiting to spark. Sisters. I have gotten so tangled in construction cones, growling yellow machines and orange-chested men that I veered onto the wrong side of the highway, cement barricades blocking me from veering back to the safe side until seconds before twisted metal and blackout. My sister not screaming or fainting, but picking the thread of the conversation right back up as though we had only blinked or snoozed. See, my sister is a sister of another sister, and we don't leave the weave of each other's minds easily. My sister is a rowboat rocking against shore, waiting for me to wake, unmoor us from the dock we are tied to. My sister is a clay box full of secrets, mine and her sisters and her sisters and hers. She brings good news, waits by my side for the bad news. My sister helps me pack, drives the truck stuffed with my failures home and unpacks them all. She is the one who helps me lift words heavy as coffins. She keeps me moving. She keeps. Her conch shell calls all our sisters to the shores of rising waters, oil slicking the surface to clean up the mess we have made of the sister who birthed us all. Still life. Before we shut the doors and locked ourselves behind windows, before we began fearing another's embrace, breath, fists, empty grocery store aisles, giant insect buzz of helicopters overhead, we took off, glided along freeways pointing north, connected to curvy country roads where we could stop, untangle ourselves from seatbelts and break into a run, swoop in loops around a sap green meadow, then tumble to earth panting, sucking air into our natural ventilators, our healthy homes. All that freedom drained out of my face, fingertips, knees the next day when I flew upstairs into the bath, flung open the shower curtain and saw that sparrow in the tub, dead as a still life, once trapped and tired enough to plummet to porcelain spotted with pecks of water. How could we have let it in and not notice? How can I pick it up and toss it after imagining its frenzied flight from room to room, window to window, bed to bed, book to book? How can I call it it? How could we? How can I? And then, oh, one more screen share here. Let's see here. Okay. And this poem is written after this piece of graffiti art called Placa Roll Call by the artist, the Los Angeles artist, Chaz Bojorquez. And the poem goes by the same name, Placa Roll Call, and it begins with an epigraph from the artist who said, if the city was a body, graffiti would tell us where it hurts. And this block would shout, nos diste un chingazo, cabrón. Mira esta cara rota, these baton cracked ribs, this black and blue street dizzy con gente, Blades, Kiki, Larry, Snow, Enrique, Connie, Elton King, David, Kelly, Jeff Raton, Chaz. Los de aquí, los de abajo. This roll call won't be silenced, not by Glock, not by chokehold. This, our temple of runes, our tomb, its glyphic curve and flow, calligraphic code, writ acrylic. This, our relic, our scroll unrolled in catacombs, our flecks of subtext still buzzing después de que vayamos con la pelona. Que lucha, loco. Ven, baile con nosotros to the aerosols maraca y hiss, al punk en español's furious sweat. Hang your head out the window y dale un grito tan lleno de duende that it cracks the pavement, summons our dead to dinner. Turn the tonal kaleidoscope, then pause, catch your breath so you don't miss the illegible moment where all the mystery lives. There, decipher that. And I'm going to close with a little bit longer poem, not terribly long, but a little bit longer. And this poem is after a line by Juan Felipe Herrera, one of my favorite poets. And it's comprised of phrases and lines from the work of Mexican American and Native American authors whose books were banned or taken out of the Tucson public school classrooms when the Tucson United School District banned the district's Mexican American Studies program under the 2010 law HB 2281. In 2017, a federal judge declared this law unconstitutional and enacted with discriminatory intent. But I still felt the need to write a poem using, except for a few conjunctions, using only language from the books that were banned. Because we come from everything. Because we come from everything, from zero, from a doubt slender as a hair, from a land of travelers, wanderers, and its geography of scars, from frayed edges and muddy hems, from the border sealed tight as an envelope, Meskin Dixon line. Because we come from Operation Wetback, Operation Peter Pan, Operation Gatekeeper, floodlights, sensors, infrared spy videos, night vision camera, topo maps, helicopters, and holding cells, from sharp shooting goose steppers round every corner, from alien gods and alien names and alien eyes and wild alien tongues, from the barbed wire politics of stupidity. Because we come from the ship that will never dock, from a parallel universe, double helix, synchronized sigh, the infinite division del secreto terrible, the screaming sun. Because we come from steel mill smoke and silt slaughtering the sky, a matchbox house beneath the shadow of the freeway, windows so small you'd think they were holding their breath, and roaches so big they look Pleistocene, kids hopscotching on the sidewalk, and a dusty unpaved road called Sal si puedes. Because we come from the geometry of disaster, schools torn down and sold for scrap, bristled restrictions and Chuco hieroglyphics, the gash sewn back into a snarl, crushed cigarette in a glass. Because we come from linoleum and formica, from rooms boarded shut and rented to strangers en una esquina aparte de los demás, hole in the ceiling, kids on milk crates, the hammerhead of responsibility, tin plate face down on the floor. We come from brujas, chavalas, carnales, cabrones, rucas, locas, comadres, los vatos, los perros y los perdidos. Una vieja y sus recuerdos, eternal ciphers with voices bright as chrome. Because we come from every cell, every follicle, every nerve, the petals of the body, an orchid of blood, mapped birthmarks, knowing and unknowing. Because we come from museums and waiting rooms, hostile territory and collateral damage. Because we come from the out of service area, from another bad dream, a bowl of beans. Because we come from El Rascuache, Tex-Mex with a Brooklyn accent, Santeria Tupperware party, magnet car statuettes and kitsch calendar art at the flea market. La Segunda, from the word cachivaches and la loteria, a world loaded on each back. Because we come from everything, on top of everything. from unbending dreams and a long line of eloquent illiterates, the throat that must clear itself and apologize each time it speaks, a sound like swallowing mud, because we come from el camino de la mestiza, the path of red and black ink, from linguistic terrorism and literary archaeologists from each of the star stories, because we come from a green flutter, the hummingbird's throat, from dichos, cantos, cuentos, because we come from the spoken word, the seed of love in the darkness. Gracias, thank you.
You see Nick clapping. I don't know if he knows he's on mute, but thank you so much, Brenda.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing. I love the bilingualism in that work. I really, really do. I don't know if this happens to you a lot, but a lot of people sometimes ask, like, which one do you prefer? Or which one do you speak better? And it's like, both. They both coexist really nicely. So it's nice to hear it in poetry. It's always really nice to see that in art.
Elkid, if I can just say really quickly, I took myself off mute just to let the performers on here know that, so this is, as you know, being Facebook Lived on the Kenosha Public Library Facebook page, and you all are getting a lot of love on the comments there. So if you want to go and check the comments while Marco performs, I'm sure he's going to be getting a lot of love too, but just wanted to let you all know. Thank you all.
And that's actually the perfect introduction for Marco. The bio I've got here is reminding us that Marco's been playing music for over a decade. As Nick already told us, Marco's been performing with Bonk for a very long time. So we're glad he could join us again. He currently performs with the groups Anchors of Empires, New Vices, and his solo project, Mexico City is Sinking. As Mexico City is Sinking, Marco's released the full-length album, Queen of Monster Island, in 2015. Marco lives in Racine, Wisconsin, with his fiance, Shelby, and her 2 dogs, Bobo and Egan. So, Marco, take it away.
Can you go on the Facebook and see if you can hear me well? Hello, everyone. Esteban and Brenda, thank you for sharing tonight. Nick and Elkid, thanks for having me back on Bonk. All right. I'm gonna play 2 songs that I've played at Bonk before, and then I'm gonna play 3 songs that I have not. This first song's called Bad Faith. do me a favor and grab that mug with water over there for me? Thank you. This next song is called Sundowning. And this song and the song I just played are both on Spotify on an EP called The Queen of Monster Island under the name Mexico City is Sinking. Thank you. Give it up for my lovely fiance with the water. There it is. Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The cat just keeps walking in front of the mic, and she also started drinking my water. So can I have some new water, please? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. There's a moment where I'm sure the audio kind of got real muffled as she was walking by. Okay, I'm gonna finish this song now. Can it not be in that glass that she just licked all over? She was just putting her tongue in it. Okay, here we go. Sorry, guys. Oh, you've been gone for days. Won't you come back to me? Stuck in a haze. Oh, you've been gone for days. Won't you come back to me? Stuck in a haze. Sleep here soundly. Don't bother to open up your eyes. Sleep here soundly. Don't bother to open up your eyes. I'm quietly wasting, quietly waking, swimming inside. Sleep here soundly. Don't bother to open up your eyes. I'm quietly wasting, quietly waking, the storm inside. I spent the entire last half of that song trying not to laugh because I was watching her drink my water. And I made the mistake of putting the computer on top of her cat house. And now she's decided that she wants to be in the cat house. So maybe let's put her in the basement for just a little bit, babe. Okay. Woo! Okay. All right. This is a new song. It's not new. I wrote it a while back, but I haven't played it live. This song's called I Am the Ghost That Haunts Your House. Bodies beneath the floorboards are making themselves known. All of the corpses of your graveyard are running down the hall. I don't know what you came for. This is not your home. Oh. I am screaming from the inside. I could wake the dead, creak of violent apparitions. They say it's in my head, but all this tales have been shifting. I am seeing red. What an experience this has been. Can you hold this? Thank you. You're the technician. Audio technician and whatnot. Hey, Nick Hudson. Okay, this song is called 27, and it is about Pennywise the Clown. I am watching while you sleep. I am patiently waiting. I will make your body weak. Can you hear me? Let me help you flow. My body's aching for someone to ease the hunger now. I am making you believe. Cruel and dark imagination. Crooked mouth and jagged teeth. Meet me in the barrens of our love. We forge the trenches of no one can hear you scream. All right, this is gonna be my last song. This one doesn't have a title. And when you're done here, be sure to tune into Woodland Patterns stream to see all those great poets. Kelsey Harris, shout out. She's dope. Let me just make sure this is in tune. Hey, Dad, Nisa. Okay. Yeah, the song doesn't have a title. I wrote it with my friend Sam Krause. Shout out Sam Krause if you're watching. We created this little ditty together. Okay, hold on. What's happening here? Okay, here we go. Took a step into the ocean. Well, the tides are on my neck. the great wide open, wondering where you've been. Can I focus on where you got my love, my love. I've been trying to find, I've been trying to find you. I've been dying to find, I've been dying to find you. Wasted, will you follow my fall? Chasing the thrill of it all. No, I can't stop giving it up, giving me up, telling my luck I'm wrong. No, I can't stop giving it up, you're giving me up, and don't know my luck I'm wrong. I've been trying to find, I've been trying to find you. I've been dying to find, I've been dying to find you. I've been trying to find, I've been trying to find you. I've been dying to find, I've been dying to find you. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Marco. Also, thank you, Shelby.
Thank you, Shelby. Crisis averted.
True. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Yeah, that was amazing.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
It was really a
Thank you, guys.
treat to share this evening and stage with you all.
Likewise.
It was great. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Bonk.
Elkid, did you have anything you want to close with before I do some closing comments?
Not much. Just thank you all so much for joining the Kenosha Public Library as we wrap up all of our Hispanic Heritage Month festivities. And I'm going to let Nick give you guys the details about if anyone's interested in tuning into Woodland Pattern. They also have a really awesome poetry event happening this evening. So the party isn't over if you guys are up for it.
You know, as much as I'm appreciative of our sponsors and the amazing performers today, really no one deserves more thanks than the cat, I think, that interrupted Marco's performance. That was incredible. Thank you so much to Brenda, to Marco, and to Esteban for just bringing some real beauty into all of our homes tonight. This is the first time we've done Bonk, not our first virtual Bonk, but the first time we've done it quite with this interface. And I really loved getting to see all the positivity and all the appreciation just pour through on the Facebook comments. So you all have to check that out. Oh, there's the real star.
Here's the real star of the show right here.
Who is that, Marco?
This is Salem.
Salem.
She decided that she wanted to be in her cat house after all.
Well, next time we're gonna have Salem on as a featured performer, if that's okay.
Yeah, she's up for it, man. Great
And
performer.
in the middle of her set, you can come and rub up against the camera.
Yeah, for sure.
So I'll just do our institutional thanks one more time before we move on from the night. I want to thank the Racine Public Library. I want to thank the Friends of the Racine Public Library. I want to thank the Osborne and Sekich Family Foundation, the Racine Community Foundation, Old Madrid Restaurant, and most importantly for tonight, I want to thank Kenosha Public Library and Elkid, and also Marcia, who's been behind the scenes helping us today. But Kenosha Public Library really, they reached out to us to connect for a Hispanic Heritage Month event. And I personally couldn't feel more blessed and more graced by the three artists that we had here tonight. So thank you again to Brenda, Esteban, and Elkid. I have put in the Facebook comments on the Kenosha Public Library Facebook page, I put the link to this next event that Woodland Pattern is doing and that our Bonk's own Kelsey Marie Harris will be reading in. I have it on this other computer, and even though the sound is off, I can tell by who's talking that they're still only in the introductions. So it'll be a perfect transition for those of us who transition over. And with that, I'll call it. Thank you again so much to Kenosha Public Library. Thank you to all of you who came today. And most of all, thank you to Brenda, Esteban, and Marco for all the beauty you contributed. And happy 12 years, everybody.
Happy 12 years,
Peace.
woo!
Woo! Peace, have a great night. We'll see some of you in the Woodland Pattern Zoom room. All right, love you all.